Hello, everyone, and welcome to this and session. It's great to have your company. And this evening we've got a fantastic guest in Danny Duignan, and we'll get started chatting with him shortly. But first, I just want to give an introduction to the work that we do here at And. And is a coalition, and we are made up of Neurobox, Succeed with Dyslexia, the Adult Dyslexia Centre, Hampshire Dyslexia Association, Yorkshire Dyslexia Association, and Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity. And we know, don't we, that we're always stronger when we join together. We wanted to create a safe space for our adult community, and is the adult network around neurodiversity and dyslexia. But before we get started, I just want to say a quick hello to some of our coalition members. So obviously, as you see here, I've got the Succeed with Dyslexia t-shirt on. I am an SWD ambassador, and I'm also part of the Neurobox family as well. But Sue Floor, hi, you're the manager at the Adult Dyslexia Centre, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. We've been going for now more than 20 years. I expect the other Sue will say she's been going longer. She always tries to win. But we're there primarily to support adults. We do training, assessments and support groups, both online and face-to-face. But we also have a lot of children coming to us. So, yeah, we're there for everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. And thank you to you and the team for all the great work that you do.
Thank you.
Sue McKenna, you are the chair of Hampshire Dyslexia Association, aren't you? Tell us a little bit about the work you guys do.
Thank you, Donna, and it's lovely to see everybody. We are Hampshire Dyslexia Association, but we cover Southampton, Portsmouth, and the Isle of Wight. We operate as a signposting centre. We have support for employers, adults, children, teachers, professionals, adults, and currently we're working with a really fantastic charity based in Portsmouth to improve literacy. But we are very happy to be here this evening with the adult neurodiverse group, and we look forward to hearing from you, Danny.
Yes, can't wait. Thank you, Sue. And again, thank you for all the work you do in your part of the world as well. It's much appreciated. Now, we have Pat Payne on the line. She is the chair of the Yorkshire Dyslexia Association, and I'm hoping her tech's not too glitchy. Pat, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Pat,
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work you guys do in Yorkshire?
Oh, what do we do in Yorkshire? Our main focus is the helpline.
Yeah.
The helpline is extremely busy. So much so that we've almost doubled our membership in the last sort of 4 years,
Wow.
mainly through the helpline. So that's what we really do, and we try to answer any sort of query questions. If we can't, we'll signpost people onto the next place.
Yeah.
And that takes an awful lot of our time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then my second thing is that I personally facilitate English type on a Saturday morning with youngsters, teaching them to touch type. Brilliant. Which is, it's absolutely mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
When you see a 9-year-old who can type without looking at the screen, without looking at fingers, just only looking at the screen, it's amazing. And that's it. We try, unfortunately, we are Yorkshire and we try to cover the whole of Yorkshire, but it's very, very difficult with few people because, as you know, it's such a huge area. I don't know how Sue manages to cover all the areas she does, because we just can't reach everybody that we'd like to. We're wondering whether we could start up hubs in other cities around us, but it's in the drawing board.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, it's great to hear you thinking about reaching out across the county there, Pat. But thank you again for all what you do. You talked about the touch typing course being mind-blowing. What you guys do in Yorkshire is mind-blowing as well. Please keep on keeping on, because I know that we need you there serving the community in that way. Okay, so I'm going to share at the end of this conversation the contact details for our groups, including Succeed, Neurobox and Helen Arkell as well. But as we know, this session is mostly about talking to a guest or an expert. And this evening, wow, what a guest that we've got, everybody. I'm really delighted to share Danny Duignan and his voice with you guys this evening. Danny, I'm going to give you an introduction and then we'll get chatting. We talk a lot these days, everyone, about the lived experience, don't we? And that's what Danny's going to talk to us about this evening, his lived experience with dyslexia. And he's such a wise person. I've been lucky enough to know him for quite some time now. Now, Danny is a retired health and safety practitioner from Greater Manchester Fire Service. But now in retirement, Danny, I know that you're really eager, because of all your experiences, to look to new adventures, to serve the communities, to raise awareness and so on. And that's why you kindly said that you didn't mind chatting with us tonight to share your story around dyslexia. So with that in mind, Danny, can you start us off and tell us a bit about your journey, your story around dyslexia?
Yeah, I can. Firstly, obviously, it's an honour and a pleasure really to be doing this, although a little bit nervous, as most dyslexic people are when they stood up in front of people. Brings back memories of childhood. I stood in front of the teacher and the other children in the class. Not saying you're children, by the way, guys, but you know what I'm saying.
Or so I'm a strict teacher, Danny. Please don't put me in that category.
Yeah, no, it's you know, it's all part of the journey really, which I'm going to talk about tonight. And I think, you know, it'd be wrong of me really not to go back to, you know, my early childhood really, in the sense that that's where my development, if you like, and my struggles with dyslexia have come from. You know, I can remember bits and pieces of my primary school from infants, and it was always really enjoyable, and you know, up to a certain age where, you know, the bits where you'd be making things out of plasticine and you'd be, you know, playing in the sand pits and, you know, doing all kinds of stuff that you used to do as a kid and you found really enjoyable. But then it got to a point in my primary school, probably around the old junior 3, junior 4, the years before you leave and go to secondary school. That's when I really noticed my differences, if you like, because bear in mind that, you know, I'm at the age where dyslexia wasn't really, and I suppose neurodiverse conditions, you know, in the main were not something that was sort of considered. You're either good at class or good at learning, or you weren't good at learning, you know. So I think, again, I can remember being in class and other kids seemed to be able to do things that I couldn't when they were writing down lots of information in their school books, and I was like sort of watching out the window and watching what people were doing and paying really no attention to what I should have been doing. But unbeknownst to me, it was part and parcel of my dyslexic traits, if you like. So yeah, so leaving sort of primary school, beg your pardon, and then moving on to secondary school, that's when I noticed an even bigger void between what I couldn't do and everybody else could do. So, and I'm just so you're aware that I'm using my mind mapping software just as my pointers. So if you see me looking to one side, that's what it is.
It's really useful, that kind of technology, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd certainly be lost without it, to be honest with you. And I think really it's an emotive sort of subject, really, isn't it? Because it's about my personal life, and I feel like I shouldn't have to study for things about my own personal life. I should know because it's about me, isn't it? But
yeah, but it helps, Danny, I think, to have it there as a tool, especially because it is personal, because it can help you, you know, kind of structure your thoughts in that way, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And the memory recall has always been a you know, a significant sort of issue with myself. Not that I didn't know the information, it's been able to recall the information. And I think stuff like mind mapping software, which I'll probably talk a little bit about as we sort of progress into my life's journey as such. So I did sort of feel like the thick kid in the class, if you like, when I was at primary school. But it wasn't overly obvious. It was when I went to secondary school, like I say. Yeah. So I knew there was something different about me. And I seemed to really struggle with things that, like I say, other kids in the class didn't seem to struggle with. So again, I'd be the one that was sort of looking out the window. I wasn't paying attention to the work I was doing and things like that, you know. And eventually, you know, it started to get quite significant, if you like. I really struggled with comprehension. Aside from the reading and the writing, comprehending things was a really real struggle for me. And you know, when I'd be writing stuff down in a book, I'd really struggle with that. You know, everybody else was writing pages and pages of information. I was maybe doing one paragraph, a couple of lines, or even a paragraph, and that was me burnt out then. You know, I think one of the significant things I remember was we had a teacher in secondary school, and I think it was round about, I think it was year 5, so it was the 5th year, sorry, not year 5, the 5th year of secondary school in the or I think it's year 11 now, isn't it, in secondary school, as they call it. I can remember everybody in the class. There was 35 kids in the class, and we're all there, and it got to my turn, and the teacher says, "You boys stand up," and he says, "Right, I want you to carry on reading." So I literally didn't have a clue what page it was on, what was meant to be reading. Even when I found the page, I couldn't comprehend what it was I was reading, you see. So next thing you know, he gets hold of his board duster, launches it at me. I can still see, I had a black blazer on, and I can still see the chalk bouncing off me blazer. And he screams at me in his loudest voice, you know, "You boy, get out of my class and don't come back," sort of thing. You know, all the kids in the class laughing, and that was my first taste then of realizing I was definitely different to the other kids, and I didn't understand why, but that was that. And that then, if you like, manifested into a situation where I was sort of constantly feeling anxiety and frustration. I didn't really, in fact, the whole thought of going to school was an absolute nightmare for me. And it literally got to a point where I'd go into school in the morning, I'd get my registration, and then I'd literally walk out the door. And every dinner time I'd come back in, have my dinner, have my lunch, because it was on free school meals at the time, you know, as we were kids growing up. And then, you know, I would do the same thing again. I'd get my registration for the afternoon, and I'd go out, and nobody seemed to miss me. And that was unbeknown to me, that was my coping strategy. You know, that's what I was doing. I didn't want to do it. I was scared of doing it, but it was the only way I could get away from that situation, from you know, the being belittled and the feeling of anxiety and frustration. So that played a significant part on my childhood, really, and consequently I left school with no formal qualifications. You know, so that was the start of it, really. And I even got to a situation where I was like, I can remember laying in bed one night at home as a young kid, 15 years old or whatever. And I'd be thinking to myself, why did God make me like this? You know, I went to a Catholic school. I was allegedly a religious school that we went to, but it didn't seem to reflect some of the way they treated the kids, you know what I mean? But I used to think, so why did God make me this way? Why am I the only one with a defective brain? You know, and again, that was quite significant. And unbeknown to me, I didn't realise it was a typical or a recognised condition that many people suffer with. But I just believed it was only me in the world that had it. You know, everybody else was perfect. Everybody else could do what it is they need to do. Just me that was sort of really struggling. And the other thing I think as well is you know, it's when you get to in the 5th year, and you've got enough teachers who tell you you're thick, you're stupid, you'll never get a job, you'll never amount to anything. I went through all them things, and what amazes me is, I'm saying this to you now, and you know, I hear so many people that I've spoke to since, you know, in my lifetime, if you like, who've gone through a similar sort of thing, you know, where they've been made to feel like absolute useless rubbish, you know, being belittled, made to feel worthless at the end of the day. And I'm going back to a time where, you know, it's probably a lot different than what it is now. I'd like to think it's a lot different at schools now. Do you know what I mean? There's more encouragement, there's more understanding, there's more awareness, there's more, sort of diagnosis, if you like, of the condition. But for me, it was pretty traumatic at the time. So again, I'm thinking to myself, where do I go from here? You know, I knew I weren't going to go to college because I didn't have any academic qualifications. I was thinking to myself, well, I don't want to be working in a, you know, sweeping roads and things like that. Nothing's anything wrong with road sweepers, but you know what I'm saying. I had my own aspirations of where I wanted to be in life and what I wanted to do. You know, I mean, you know, I was always. I always wanted to impress my dad as well. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunate for me, I had a brother who was he's a very academic. He's a brilliant lad. So, you know, and I always felt like I was sort of pushed to one side. You know what I mean? Rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but that's the things that happen when you're growing up and you've got all these emotions going through and all these struggles that you're going through life with. So anyway, I managed to get a job pretty much straight away from leaving school. It was, you know, it was carpentry and joinery. It was using my hands. I felt like, well, that's what God must have allowed me to do. You know what I mean? I'm an academic, but I'm good at making things. So yeah, so from there, you know, I was doing things that potentially I shouldn't have been doing myself in the sense that I wasn't academically qualified to do, yet I could still do it. But I wasn't doing it in accordance with how everybody else did it. I was pretty much finding my own ways of doing things to achieve the same outcome. So is that okay? Yeah, so
I'm just going to mute Pat because I think she's been unmuted by accident. So sorry to interrupt you there, Danny.
No worries at all. I thought it was me then. Yeah, so
it's the glitches of Teams. Please do carry on because honestly, what you're sharing, it's blown me away, Danny, and it's really, really emotional as well. So please do carry on.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you know, like I say, I always felt like, well, I must have found something here where I realised that there's more ways to do something. That they all saying there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. But you know what I'm saying? You know, just because a book says you must do it in a certain way, and you must follow, you know, not like from A, B, C in a sort of a logical sequential way. That's how you achieve things. But when I was doing things differently, I was doing things purely by, if you like, looking at things and thinking, right, well, if I have to, I was making manufactured joinery at the time. So it was one of them where, you know, I'd have to look at and I'd foresee the problems that would occur. And as a result of that, I was good at my job and I made a good living out of it. But then as time progressed and years progressed, I realised that I had a hunger for learning, which is a bit ironic. And then I ended up doing my City and Guilds in advanced crafting, carpentry and joinery at Salford College, as it was at the time. And then I then later on decided I want to try and do something else, you know. And I did it, and I went on to college and I did an ordinary national certificate in construction and property. Then I went on later to do my Neurobox certificate for health and safety, occupational health and safety. Then I went on to do a high national certificate at Salford Uni in construction and property. That was 2 years part time, and then I went on to a bachelor science degree, a bachelor's with honours it was, in construction project management. But also prior to that, I missed out. I did a national diploma in occupational safety and health, you know, which then got me on to become a chartered member of the Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, which was a great achievement for me, you know. So, well, in essence, what I'm trying to say is I spent an extra 13 years studying, you know, and the biggest part of that, I did that without any kind of support. You know, it's purely based on me just trying my hardest to do things and trying to think out the box and to try and achieve what I need to achieve. And I did that to a certain extent. But it was when I went to Salford University, to be fair to them, it was brilliant because I said, you know, I could do the course, no problem. I said, but I know when I did my Neurobox certificate, I struggled. I think it was the second time I passed it, but I struggled, and I said, and they actually said to me, he said, Dan, we know you know your stuff, but I said, I know, I said, but I struggled to get it down on paper. And I didn't realise it was dyslexia even. And I had a feeling there was something along the lines of us, you know, I just had a struggle with things. So anyway, at the time, they said to me, oh, we can give you the scribe and the amanuensis. So I said, oh, right, brilliant, what does that mean? So I said, well, you sit down, they'll read the questions to you, and then you give them the answer, and they'll write it down for you. So I said, all right, brilliant, I still have a go at that. Anyway, the first experience was, if I can say it was horrendous, is you know, it's not an understatement, because, or it's not understated, sorry, because the person that was doing it wasn't an amanuensis, and he was doing it as a, you know, because he was asked to do it, and he was tussing all the way through it. So every time I said, I'm sorry, can you put a line through that, I was getting lots of tuts. So people think it's, you know, it's, oh, somebody else is doing it, it must be easy. Well, it's not. That itself created a lot of problems, but I got through it and I passed it. And again, when I went to Salford Uni, I mentioned this to them, and they said, oh, do you think you might be dyslexic? I said, well, I'm not sure, but possibly. I said, but there's any way you can find out. So I had the assessment done. I had the initial dyslexia, what do they call it? Sorry, Donna, you know, the screening. I had the screening.
Yeah.
I had the screening done first, and then that then pointed to the fact that I have got dyslexic characteristics. Then luckily they paid for a full assessment. So from the full assessment, I was then provided with a report, and it identified my strengths and weaknesses and what have you, and the recommendations for the support plan, and that was all brilliant. And then I ended up getting all the assistive technologies, and that in itself was a sort of a wow. You know what I mean? It was like a breath of fresh air for me, because then I realised that all these things that I just thought I was sort of thick or stupid doing, or struggling with, then it all sort of made sense, if you like.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, so that was pretty much. I'm just going to see what I put on here.
What journey, Danny? I mean, I think that journey will resonate, unfortunately, with a lot of people. Because I say unfortunately because it's really, really tough journey you've been on there, but managed to come through and dig in to find the resilience. Whilst you're having a look at your notes, is there anything else you wanted to share while we're on this bit? Because I wanted to ask you, the next question is about, you talk about support, and you've shared tonight that you're looking at a mind map. What support's been useful for you along the way to get you to where you are? You know, you've been a very consummate professional. I know you're retired now, but you're still very active. What's been some of the biggest supports that you've had that's really made a difference for you?
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think the realization of for example, mind mapping software. I use one called, I'm not promoting them, but it's Mind Genius 20 it's called, and it's a project management software, but also it's a mind map. It's a type of return software, and so it's great for brainstorming. You know, any kind of project you're working on, you put your thoughts down on the screen, and then you can manipulate it and put it into order, all kinds of stuff. And I use that for pretty much for lots of things, really, not just for a work setting. Do you know what I mean? And I know they do the same company does one for education as well, so studying and what have you. But I know there's loads of other organisations out there, or software manufacturers or suppliers who provide similar sort of software. But that's what I stuck with, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think as well, what I also like to use is and if you know, there are a text to speech software that's out there, but I know I'm allowed to use, that was mentioned, like Microsoft 365 with the immersive reader. That's a brilliant bit of kit, and it's built into the software. And one of the things that I've sort of realised is you don't have to just be sort of dyslexic or you know, struggle with what's the name. If you, it's it's a good bit of software that can be used for everybody, really. Do you know what I mean? To make yourself more efficient, more productive, and what have you. So yeah, so that's been a godsend, really. You know, one of the things that I sort of realised when I was given the assistive technologies, that's when I was at university, was you don't always know what is going to work for you.
Yes.
And you get given this equipment, and the equipment itself is brilliant, and it's you know, going back a few years now, it was quite expensive as well, you know, but it doesn't cure the problem, if you know what I'm saying. You know, if it doesn't say, right, well, you got this piece of kit now, then all your problems are going to go away. You know, you got to be able to use the technology that's available, and some suit some people and some doesn't, some won't suit people. Do you know what I mean? But I'd always say, well, at least give it a try.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And because a lot of times we've got these inbuilt barriers in our own minds, particularly if we're dyslexic and neurodiverse, but we believe that things won't work, or that's not going to work for me. When I'm sort of the belief now that you should just try it and give it a good try, you know. And I think once you know what works for you, it'll open doors for you. You know what I mean? And I think things like, I say, mind mapping, text to speech, you know, the stuff that I've struggled with. You know, I'm not saying that all the struggles go away, but they certainly help to overcome them. And in fact, I you know, I'm not just saying it. Well, I left uni with a 2-1. I thought that was pretty decent. That for somebody who struggled with comprehending.
That's brilliant.
One of the key things, and apologies if it's one of your future questions, but one of the things I've realised is that you know, there's always you can always benefit from, if you like, struggling with things. If you struggle with something and you find that you can overcome something, then that's you know, that in itself is a great achievement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I was going to ask about your insights into your journey, because we learn so much from listening to each other. Is that one of your insights? Because you talked about the 15-year-old you. Now at your stage of life, and you're thinking back to all these different chapters that you've been through.
Yeah.
How can I put it? Are you thinking now those struggles of kind of, as awful as they were at the time, have made you who you are now, really?
100%.
The strong person, the wise person.
100%. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'll be in this position now where I've got a passion for supporting other people and the empathy side of things, without actually having to have gone through them struggles. Do you know what I mean? So, and one of the things that I'm really, you know, I tell myself all the time, if I can just help somebody to not have to go through the struggles that I went through. Do you know what I mean? Particularly when we realise that whenever you speak to somebody who's had a real difficult time with like dyslexia or neurodiversity, if you like, or their traits, I should say, you know, we sort of always use the negative side of things as opposed to the positive side of things. You know what I mean? But I think I want to try and help other people so they don't have to go through what I went through, and to help them realise that, you know, being dyslexic isn't and we always, what is it a disability? Is it not a disability? Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't have to be something that prevents you from achieving in life. If anything, you know, it could be the thing that actually makes you achieve in life. Do you know what I'm saying? It's and that's what drives me, I think. And you know, we can always think life's tough and you know, we're not going to get anywhere and everything's stacked against me, but believe me, it's not. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be talking like this if I was 30 years younger, because I'll be of the mindset where I'm doomed to failure because everybody told me I'm doomed to failure. Do you know what I mean?
If this passes the messages that you want to, as we draw our conversation to a close, Danny, Are these
Yeah.
part of the messages that you want to share with folks who are listening to this, who
100%.
maybe, at this point are in the middle of those struggles?
Yeah, 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 100%. It's one of them. It really. Just 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah,
Um,
I think. Yeah, I think really, it's about showing the empathy side of things, and not just showing empathy, but showing that you've come from where they are or where they're going to go to. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the key thing for me. If people can see that you've struggled, but you've achieved in life, if you like. And I don't mean everybody's got their own sort of definition of what's achieving and what's not achieving, but you know what I'm saying is, I feel like I've got the passion, I've got the understanding, I've got the empathy, and really all I want to do is pass on that knowledge and experience, whether it's good or bad. My bad experience will hopefully prevent them from having a bad experience. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the key thing. And I think everybody who works in this sort of field, people like yourself, who make a massive difference to people like me. Without that, without that sort of community of supportiveness, if you like, you just have people, feeling miserable and giving up, if you like. But because of people like yourselves and the work that you do, and helping people like me and others, it's to me, it's difficult to really for me to put into words, other than we'd be lost without it. You know what I'm saying? It's
the community, isn't it?
yeah. Because it's nothing worse than feeling like you. I always think back to when I was that kid on my own, thinking, why is it only me like this? And it's not only me like this, and it's people like yourselves and the work that you do that highlight the fact that you're not on your own, and it's not something that's going to define your life forever and a day. In fact, if anything, it's the thing that's going to help you to succeed in life. I mean, obviously, that's why you've got to succeed with dyslexia, and that wasn't meant to be a pun on there, but you know what I'm saying. But that's what it's about, really,
Exactly.
And it's to me, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Well, Danny, you're pretty fantastic as well. Thank you so much, because it's so brave to speak of yourself in this way. You're so honest. And that honesty is like a beacon, because what it does is it shines a light on all the things that maybe we're still scared to speak about, or people who aren't there yet on their journey. I honestly can't thank you enough. I've known you for quite some time, and it's been a real pleasure. So I was delighted when you said that you were going to speak with us this evening. Thank you, as I say, for your honesty. Yes, please do share anything.
I've just got one. One of the questions I think we was going to discuss really was what sort of message would I like to give to other neurodivergent people? Yeah. And one of the key things that I was thinking about is never be afraid to make a fool of yourself, or perceived fool of yourself. Because I went through life, and you're thinking, I better keep my mouth shut, I better not say anything, I better not put my head above the parapet, because people are going to think I'm daft, think I'm stupid, think I'm thick, think I'm, whatever. But I truly believe that we should all face our demons. And this is one of my demons, talking in front of people. It's not something we enjoy doing as dyslexic, because we were so used to sitting at the back of the class. Please don't look at me. If I can't see. One of the strategies, if you like, was, I can't read the board, if you like, because I haven't got my glasses, even though I didn't wear any glasses. Because you always have these strategies that you develop to sort of take you away from that fear of being ridiculed or being asked questions, or, you know what I mean, to make you stand out in the class. But I think you get to a point is where it's always better to make yourself stand out, to put your head above the parapet, to sort of, one of the buzzes I always get is delivering dyslexia in the workplace awareness training, and even related to dyslexia and health and safety and communication and what have you. It's fantastic, but because I know it's a struggle, but the people that you're, if you like, talking to, if you like, they're getting something out of it. Do you know what I mean? And they're getting something to take away that's really positive. And I think once you can do that, and expose yourself a little bit, it then becomes not as stressful, not as daunting. Do you know what I mean? And it's things that you can build up over time. You do a little bit here, a little bit there, and then when you get really confident, which you will do, you know what I mean? You might just have to find your own way to be able to achieve it. Like I say, develop your own coping strategies, and look at ways of projecting yourself to the best of your ability. Some people are very, very extrovert in the way they deliver training, and that's fantastic. And that can be a dyslexic trait as well.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think it's just finding out who you are, but look at the strategy on the way. But like I say, never anybody who's got a neurodiverse or neurodivergent condition or dyslexia, whatever, just give it your best and go for it. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You know for next time, and you just keep learning. And all of a sudden, you'll find yourself really enjoying and loving what it is you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Wise words. Thank you so much. With that in mind, then, I'm going to share the contact details as I said I would. This is always the bit I get very nervous about because it's the technology, but I'm hoping it's going to work because I'm sure that what Danny shared is very inspiring and it will resonate with a lot of you during this session. And as I say, we're so grateful to him for being so honest and open. And I love some of his ideas about, being yourself and not being scared to make a mistake and so on. But if you are scared, nervous, want to find out more, want some advice to get you to the place where you know that you need to be, there's lots of organisations out there. As Danny says, you are not on your own. So this evening you've heard from Sue Flor, who's part of the Adult Dyslexia Centre, and they have a helpline. There's their phone number and email address. We've heard from Pat talking about all that great work they do over in Yorkshire. There's the helpline that Pat said they're always so busy because they've got big community to serve. We've got the email address as well there. We've got Hampshire's helpline email address. We heard from Sue McKenna this evening. You see me in my Succeed with Dyslexia t-shirt. I'm an ambassador for Succeed. We don't have a helpline. That's not the work that we do there. But what we do is raise awareness and break down some of those barriers that Danny was talking about this evening. So please do reach out to the team there if you want to find out more. There's their email address. As I said a little earlier, I'm also lucky enough to be part of the Neurobox family. Here's Neurobox's website and their email address. They deliver training, they deliver assessments and support around technology as well. And then we've got Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity contact details as well. They do lots of great work. And so please do reach out to those guys as well. Now, I'm hoping that you might be able to see the screen because I've just had a message from Sue saying that you guys can't see this slide. Let me have a go at resharing it. This is why I don't like the technology sometimes, guys. It makes me nervous. So let me have another go at resharing. I've talked it through, so I don't need to do that again. But let me see if we can share it again. Please work this time. Can you guys see that okay?
No.
Oh dear, what's occurring here? I'm not sure what's happening, guys, but never mind. We won't delay the session. What we will do, though, is we'll share it when it gets shared on YouTube. And so don't worry about that. You will see it in other sessions that we've delivered. It's the contact details for ADC, Yorkshire Rose, and so on. But thank you so much for your time. As Danny and I have said, you're not on your own. Although you couldn't see the slide with the contact details, there are lots of helplines out there, and we will add it to the YouTube video when we share it with all you wonderful listeners out there. So thank you so much for your time. Again, a huge thank you to you, Danny. Much appreciated. And yeah, let's keep talking about these really important issues. Until next time, everyone, thanks so much for your company. We look forward to welcome you next time around on And. Bye, everyone.
I know.